Good afternoon. We're going to get started. I know people are still coming through the rain. I'm Bonnie Thornton-Dill. I'm Dean of the College of Arts and Humanities, and I want to welcome our alumni and students to our 12th annual Access to Alumni program. We're really thrilled to have all of you here. The students, we're so glad you're all dressed up and professional looking and ready to have these conversations. And the alumni, we're so thrilled that you decided to come back and share your time and energy with us today. This is a wonderful event. It's one of my favorites, actually, and it really gives students an opportunity to connect with alumni who are well positioned to offer valuable career advice. So let me begin quickly by addressing the format of the program. So we do our own little version of musical chairs here, but there will be no missing chairs. We will add chairs. We will not take chairs away. But basically the idea is that there will be 3 timed sessions where you will have a chance to visit round tables and network. And so the round tables, and then back in the back is the networking area. So you can visit those at any point during these 3 times. The times will be like 15 minutes. And so after 15 minutes, Greg will ring the chimes. See, this happened last year when I said Greg will ring the chimes. He's supposed to ring the chimes, and he's not here to ring the chimes. Greg? Okay, ring the chimes. He doesn't have the chimes. Okay, Greg is here, but the chimes aren't. Okay, well, anyway, there'll be some sound that, that will be different from the sound of my voice, and you will know that it's time to move to the next table. And I know for students, I know some of you have already planned to meet with alumni in your field of interest, but I also want to encourage you to speak with alumni outside your major or in a field with which you're not familiar, because you might be surprised to see how an English degree can lead to a job in cybersecurity, or how an art degree can lead to a job as a sustainability analyst, or how a theater degree can lead to a law career. So don't limit yourselves. Use this as an opportunity to really expand your possibilities. And don't be shy. The alumni are excited to talk to you, and we really believe that introverts and extroverts can benefit from this activity today. So I want to thank our Arts and Humanities Alumni Association Chapter Board for sponsoring this afternoon's event. Could I ask the members of the chapter board to please stand, and let's give them a round of applause. These are people who continue. Thank you. They continue to show their commitment to Maryland. And then I also want to thank Anna Gavin, who's a member of the Alumni Board, for donating the prizes that some lucky students will soon win. Anna, please. Okay, she's waiting. And finally, I'd also like to give a special thank you to New Day USA for its generous gift in support of this event. Dennis Stragowski is here today on behalf of New Day, and I'd like to invite him to the stage to say a few words and then help me select the first 2 prize winners. So Dennis.
Hi, everyone. A lot of bright eyes here today. As Dean Thornton mentioned, I am with New Day USA, but the University of Maryland holds a very special place for me, specifically arts and humanities, and even more specifically COM. It's where I met my wife, where we're currently raising our 2 amazing kids in Anne Arundel County. So arts and humanities has played a big part in my life to get me where I am today. Where I am today, I work for New Day. We're a veteran-led and focused organization that helps veterans every single day increase cash flow by decreasing debt and putting veterans in better financial positions. Most recently, and something that Amanda and I can talk to you more about later on, is our purchase program. We're now putting veterans in homes through our purchase program that just opened last month, where other lenders are turning these veterans down. So it's something we're pretty excited about, something we're very, very focused on. Having said that, I was here last year. We're growing. We were 210 220 employees this time last year. Now we're cresting 400. So we're continuing to grow. We're looking to hire 20 to 25 of arts and humanities best and brightest. And if you're interested in learning more about our leadership development programs that we have, I suggest that come by, talk to me, talk to Amanda. We'd be happy to talk to you more about it. But without further ado, I guess it's now time to see who the winners are.
So we're going to select the Raffle Prize winners for the Rsvp challenges. And the first drawing is for the first 100 students who RSVP'd to this event through Facebook for a chance to win an Amazon Prime subscription. Very useful. Let Dennis pick it. You can read the name. He's taking his time. Yep, go ahead, read it.
Nikki Alade. Am I pronouncing that wrong? Nikkei?
Are you here? Is that? Oh, you know her. Oh, okay. Oh well, tell her she missed. Because now we go on to the next person.
Brian Sweeney. It's Brian Sweeney. Going once, going twice.
How many times? We've done this several times.
Yeah.
This is not unusual.
Alex Blinkoff. We got a winner.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay. Oh, Dennis, stay here. You can. We have one more.
Awesome.
Okay. The second drawing is for our RSVP challenge on April 8th. Okay. I'm supposed to understand that, but I don't. It's all right. The prize is a Bose Bluetooth speakers. Ooh, and the winner is...
Go deep down this time. Rose Prop. Oh, we're going to do this again, are we? Okay. I have one of these things. I absolutely love it. Sam Gonzalez.
Third time's the charm.
Here we go. Julie Gerard. Going once, going twice.
This is to create excitement.
These are all made up names, right? Yara Josie? No? You get more stage time than I. Right? This is awesome. Jared Tomer. No?
Hey, we're all the
Well,
RSVPers on April 8th.
we're narrowing it down. Your odds are increasing. Constantine Miladidis? No? Going once, going twice. James Morrow. Yeah! Everybody's so happy.
Okay, so the moral of that story is it pays to show up when you put your name. Thank you, Dennis. So if you arrived promptly at 4 p.m., you're eligible for the next drawing to win a Kindle Fire, which we will announce shortly. Erica's walking around now collecting those entry tickets, and stay tuned for more prize-winning announcements throughout the program. So now it's my pleasure, really, to turn to our keynote presentation. And I will introduce to you now, and then I will, before she comes up, show the video. Okay. Our 2015 Access2Alumni guest speaker, Cary, a 1978 graduate in design advertising and the CEO of MDB Communications. Cary is a native Washingtonian and advocate for the region. Her firm, MDB Communications, is a full-service advertising and marketing communications firm and was ranked as one of the nation's fastest growing firms by Inc. magazine in 1996. Cary was recently recognized for the third consecutive year as one of the Power 100 by the Washington Business Journal list of the 100 most influential business leaders. In addition to working for national and regional brands such as National Geographic, Fannie Mae, and the DC Lottery, Destination DC, the International Spy Museum, MDB has worked on a pro bono basis for Samaritan's Inns for the homeless and the Partnership for a Drug-Free America, and many, many others. Cary is a silver medal recipient, the American Advertising Federation's highest honor, and serves as the chairman of the Mid-Atlantic Board of Governors for the American Association of Advertising Agencies. In March, she was appointed to the Government Relations Committee, one of 3 women chosen for this national board. A die-hard University of Maryland advocate, Cary was recently appointed to the Board of Directors of the University System of Maryland Foundation and was recently recognized as part of the Greek 100, which honored outstanding fraternity and sorority members over the last 100 years. Cary has also long been a champion for the college. In fact, in 2002, she participated in a women entrepreneur panel and came back again in 2003 to lead a marketing communications table at one of our first A2A gatherings. That event helped shape A2A into the outstanding event it is today. More recently, she served as the commencement speaker for the Department of Communications, and for those of you who were there or heard about it, everyone got a kick out of the selfie that she shared. Today, she'll share with us the challenges she's faced, the lessons she's learned, and the unyielding tenacity that's led some to call her a force to be reckoned with. Cary is a shining example of what can be done with a degree in the arts and humanities. And before I bring her to the stage, I'm going to turn on her video, and then you can all give her a rousing welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a delight to be here. Thank you, Dean Dill, Carla, Andrews, O'Hara. Truly is a pleasure to be here. I'm so proud to be in the advertising industry. I think you'll tell by my remarks as well as that video. Despite the Mad Men reputation, it still is a great industry with a lot of fun and makes a lot of meaning for a lot of people. Of all the titles, labels, and honors, the moniker that I'm most proud of is brand advocate. Whether it's working with brand leaders like Wells Fargo, National Geographic, Sprint, or Fannie Mae, or nonprofits like the Partnership for a Drug-Free America, I believe in the power of advertising to elevate the profile and stature of brands, causes, and organizations. We're the people who tell the stories of brands, stories that motivate and move products, stories that touch your heart and open your wallets, stories that ignite causes and enlist true believers. For a minute, seduce you into considering an action, a reaction, a purchase, a behavior, or a belief, and then we implore you to act. We build the campaigns that move the economies of the region, the nation, and the world. We tell the stories that impact culture and define and redefine society. We're the storytellers of brands and causes that matter. My path, more than 30 years ago, is what I'd like to share with you today. It's an unlikely path, I don't mind telling you. You're looking at the little girl who was too afraid to talk on the phone, that was too insecure to ask for an opportunity. Things turned out quite differently. I'm here to share my story and give you some faith and some courage so you can do just the same. I've seen and survived huge changes post-Mad Men, although I'll tell you, when I started in the industry, women started as secretaries in the ad business. So it was a time pre-fax machine, pre-internet, and certainly pre-global explosion of social media. It seems fitting as a brand advocate that I share with you a few learnings from my world of creating communications campaigns. For some of you who are considering or are about to embark on your own campaign, a very important campaign, a campaign where you are the brand. a brand of one. As an evangelist of the industry, I'll frame my remarks as I did at the commencement a year ago, but I'll give you the top line report since I only have 10 minutes. Let's call them the commandments of advancing your personal brand. It would go something like this. Thou shalt have a brand strategy. Decide on your true dreams and goals. Be bold and choose a life that matters. This will put you slightly out of your comfort zone of what you know to be possible, uncomfortably hesitant of your mission, but exhilarated by the possibilities. Life is too short not to do something that matters. Thou shalt find your passion, for in following your passion, you will be choosing a successful life as defined by the most important audience, you. More than your parents, more than society, more than what you are told is what lives inside of you, your own voice, the voice that will tell you what to do and what truly matters. Listening to that voice is the single most important thing that will guide you now and into the future. Following your passion will provide you with the opportunity to be successful. Sounds easy, right? How I found my passion, and we talked a little bit about this at my table after going through 4 different curriculum in 4 years to find advertising. It was amazing that I ended up where I ended up. How I found my passion and how it led me to a lifelong love affair with advertising, and whatever success I've had started just like some of you, in a recession. Not the most optimal times, for sure, but I was determined to find a job. I was interviewing, no kidding, 4 times a day for about 6.5 weeks before I found an opportunity. I did eventually find a job in Baltimore as an assistant art director for a very small advertising agency. Now, I was there about 2.5 years learning my trade, and while I felt I was a competent art director, I feared of being perfectly average. I was absolutely mediocre. That terrified me. Now, knowing that I was not a great art director, but I had a passion for the power of advertising, I set out to find my place. This required a certain amount of introspection on my part, an honest conversation, admitting that I was just average. But I love to build brands, to educate and to motivate, so early on I realized I love the industry, and I can actually remember sitting at my drafting table saying to myself, they're gonna pay me to do this. I would do this anyway. I love helping people promote their brands. So just being in advertising was success for me. For despite being paid 1/2 of what other graduates made, 1/2 of what other graduates made, I still considered myself a success, because it's not all about the money. It's a choice, one that paid off handsomely, but much, much later. Thou shalt not count on being successful by just doing what you are told. Some time ago, I heard an interview on a radio show. There was a gentleman who was part of Occupy Wall Street. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics of this, but something this former student said struck me as provocative. I did what I was told to do. I graduated from high school, I took out a loan, I went to college, and now I don't have a job, and I'm in debt, and I have nowhere to go from here. Let me tell you, we all know life is not always fair. But I can tell you that if I did what I was told, I would never have pursued a career in advertising. In fact, I would have never even gone to college. My high school English teacher told me that I'd never graduate from college, and that was stunning in and of itself. But 2 years later, into my career at that point, I was interviewing for another job, and I was going through a series of interviews, and a psychologist from Johns Hopkins was part of the interview process. He told me this: you will never make it in advertising. Your testing results indicate that you weren't good enough, that you had an unlikely background, no industry pedigree. I hadn't worked in New York, in other words. I hadn't worked for one of the major league agencies, and I was too introverted to be successful. That was devastating to me, because I loved what I did, but I was being told that I couldn't succeed. Anybody who knows me, and I know there's a couple of you in the audience, that's just the very thing that you need to say to me to get my motor running. Next I have to share. Thou shalt believe in thyself. This is not arrogance, but knowing that you can prevail and overcome challenges and setbacks and how others may tear you down is key to your success. Advocate for yourself while not tearing down others. Thou shalt not let others define and marginalize you. Know that Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. Know that Oprah Winfrey was demoted as not fit for TV. Know that Steve Jobs was unceremoniously fired from his first company. Note, you are in charge of your brand, your path, and your passion, finding what matters and finding success. If you look to others to direct and validate and guide you, you will end up with someone else's life, not yours. You are in charge of your brand, period. Thou shalt accept that luck can be a factor, but I do believe that you largely make your own luck by what you do or fail to do. I also subscribe to the notion that the harder you work, the luckier you get. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy, but what I am going to tell you is that it's going to be worth it. I'm reminded of the early days when I borrowed $10,000 from my mom and dad to buy the company I worked for and to make it my own. I was sharing at my table at the age of 30. For some crazy reason, I thought I should buy this company. You know, we made $200,000 the first year. The next year, we made $1.2 million. Fear of failure is a powerful thing. I'm reminded of the early days when that happened, and I also remember that in the first 3 months following the acquisition, I called my dad sharing my plight. 18 hours a day for the third week in a row, no pantyhose, a moldy banana in the refrigerator, and no shampoo, and I was dead tired. His answer to me, if I'd told you how hard it was going to be, you wouldn't have done it. He was right. So here's what I'll tell you today. It's going to be hard. So why not be great? I've learned that what people say they want and what they're willing to work for to get it are two different things. Be willing to do what is necessary to become successful. Your professors, your parents, your spouses, your loved ones have supported you on this journey. Now it's your turn. Thou shalt recognize that other people matter. Respect those who you happen upon, no matter their station in life, for circumstances can change quickly. Those you are kind to will be kind to you. Don't do it because you expect reciprocation, but because it's the right thing to do. You may very well find yourself in a position where you need help yourself. I can't tell you the number of high-flying executives that I've seen in the last 30 years that somehow had the arrogance to look down and condescend to other people and then find themselves on the curb and needing help themselves. It's amazing the silence that goes from there. So, in other words, keep your equilibrium no matter the position you find yourself in. Things can change quickly. Thou shalt be humble. In a fake it until you can make it society, authenticity does matter. As you approach or re-engage the working world, please know when and how to advocate for yourself, but be real. Express zeal and enthusiasm for the promise of your contribution. For those recent graduates, don't overstate your current value. You've just earned a credential, a hunting license, really. This is the price of entry to securing a job or a career, the promise of what you can deliver and contribute to the organization or cause. Your potential and willingness to learn and earn are appealing things to an employer. I know. You will get the job you earn, you will get the role you deserve, and you will be the success you advocate for. Thou shalt recognize that success is not a downloadable app and that it's not a one-time thing. It's your ability to provide talent, energy, and ideas to your employer and do it time and time again. For you see, successful people that endure are those that deliver time and time again. It's an iterative process, and you will be evaluated in aggregate, not in one-offs. On the topic of chasing money and hard degrees and soft degrees, because I've only been here 45 minutes, and I've heard 3 times the comparison between engineering and computer science graduates and what they're making and what people in the arts and humanities are making. Here's what I will say. A short story. A peer of mine once said to me, "You're in the business of making money." No, I'm actually not. I'm in the business of making clients' brands successful. Money is the byproduct, not the objective. Find what you love to do, build a career, and you will be rewarded. It's not the other way around. Thou shalt keep up. Know that things change and people change, and the world is not going to wait for you, which is why remaining relevant is critical. And also be open to the notion that things that happened 2 years ago, or even before 1990, may be valuable. Imagine that. For every day you have the opportunity to be great, to deliver something new that will add to your brand as a doer, a go-to person, and eventually a leader. Thou shalt give thyself permission to start at the beginning, not the bottom, to learn every day, not just when it's convenient, but remain curious about your profession and what you can contribute. I consider myself a perpetual student. I will tell you folks sitting here at the public relations and the media and sales tables, to remain relevant is it's a hygiene thing. You've got to keep up on it because it changes you know FOMO, fear of missing out? Guess what? It's real. I was the first one in my agency on Twitter. There's a reason. You've got to remain in the game because how can you lead what you don't understand? It's important. One wise woman once said, when you're through changing, you're through. Does anybody know whose quote that is? It shocked even me, Martha Stewart. But I couldn't agree more. Who knew, right? Know that life can be unkind, competition is considerable, but for those that are passionate, tenacious, and persistent, those are the folks that are notable leaders. So be humble, be open to the possibilities, be willing to do more than others, be willing to do more than what you're asked to do, by the way, and give yourself permission to start at the beginning, not the bottom, and also advocate for your brand, know who you are, and live your life as one that matters. I wish you all much success in the years to come. I expect to hear a lot from all of you, and we're not taking a back seat to computer science and engineering. Thank you.
Thank you, Cary, so much. There was so much in that for us to all kind of think about and reflect on and live by. So we have some time for question and answers, and I'm going to, are you running to get this mic? So I'm gonna, as you're thinking about your question, I'm just gonna throw one question at Cary that she can answer, and then we'll open up the floor and take some questions for you. So Cary, what kinds of trends do you see on the horizon, and how are you planning for the next new thing? And how can we as educators help our students prepare for the next new thing?
Yeah, I already mentioned, I mean, it's not that things are going to change, it's the velocity of change, right? I mean, I've seen that over I'm sure you have too, over a 30-year period of time. I mean, you know, things would change decade to decade, now they change every other month, right? So knowing that that is indeed the case, you have to lean in. You have to understand the changes in technology because that impacts every industry if you want to leverage those changes for sure. I would also say, I can speak specifically to marketing communications, all those lines are blurred. I mean, the PR firms are doing what the advertising agencies are, the ad agencies are doing what the PR firms are doing. I mean, you know, there's pretty much of a battle as to who's going to own social media between those two. Lots of acquisitions and mergers going on. So the entire communications arsenal is just one mosh pit in terms of tools. So that's one trend that I see. And the other thing that's interesting is for those of us who study the industry, and I collect actually advertising icons. I have about 160 icons, but I also collect advertising books from the last 100 years. And looking at some of the changes when radio first came in and when television first came in and things like that, you look at what's happening and what happened to the agencies that didn't stay ahead of that. They're left on the curb. So if that's not scary enough for you to make sure that you remain curious, nothing is.
Great. Okay, so let's take some questions from the audience.
I have a question. Ooh, that was feeling loud. I'm Michelle Singletary. I work at the Washington Post. Hello. And I love your last comment about not taking a back seat to engineering and computers. So just as a way of background, I'm a liberal arts major, obviously, and my husband's in engineering, and he used to make fun of me all the time. He used to say, oh, you just a liberal arts major. But now I make twice what he makes, just saying.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, he's fine and all that, and he made good money, but I'm just saying. So, and he went to Maryland, so I met him here. One of the second best things other than my degree that I got from Maryland. But what encouragement can you have? Can you expand on that whole idea that this is still a good way to make a good living? Because we have so much about STEM and engineering and computers, and the Post just had an article about people not studying English, and that there's just this whole thing about this is a wasted major or area. And if you could sort of give the young adults some encouragement or what words of wisdom to expand on what you said a little earlier.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great observation. Thank you, Michelle. I saw your name on the attendance list, so I was delighted to see the Washington Post was here. Yeah, I mean, you know what I would do? I'm just so competitive, I got to tell you. What I would do is I would find some of those STEM organizations, you know, the science technology organizations, and I would go to the communications department. Because guess what? Many of our engineers, and we've worked for global engineering firms, we've worked for lawyers and architects and all that stuff. You know what? You demonstrate, you prove your value on a regular basis when you can communicate their messages in a meaningful way, and they say, wow, thank you. Because then they realize, it's kind of the big comeuppance, right? They understand that you're a professional communicator, and they've never thought about how to position their company, how to communicate their value. And it reminds me a little bit, because my husband is an industrial pharmacologist, so he's the other side of the equation, right? I'm a creative person. And he was, you know, oh, you've got a soft degree. We were talking about this at the table, and, you know, I've got the big, bad, hard degree. Well, guess what? Just like you know, I contribute a fair much to this family, and a fair amount. And, you know, I think when he realized, even early on in dating, he was with Drug Enforcement Administration, and he said, well, you know, you've got this soft degree, and you chase ambulances, and you do. I said, let me just tell you something. I became a volunteer for the Partnership for a Drug-Free America, and I showed him the power of communications to talk about the supply and demand. He's going to lose the war on drugs, but we're going to win through communications. And let me tell you, the respect balance changed almost immediately. We were doing national advertising for the Partnership for a Drug-Free America, and he understood how important it was to have a professional communicator.
Great, thanks. Other questions? There's one here, Carla. You're running with the mic up front.
Hi, I'm a sophomore communication major. I'm Tish Carmona, and I was just wondering where you get your motivation and passion from. Like, is it all self-driven, or do you have like a source of inspiration? Because I find that sometimes, like, I'll have these lofty dreams, and like, you know, just from hearing your speech, I'm like, oh, I want to go out and do this. But sometimes just getting bogged down with like the day-to-day tasks that we have to do. Like, what do you usually turn to keep your motivation running?
That's a great question. I read a lot. I mean, and not just online, although, I mean, I'm on Twitter, and my Twitter handle, by the way, anybody who's interested in following me is @Cary Hatch, and I'm also on Facebook, by the way. And you can also follow the agency at #MDBCOMM. But, you know, I read a lot of leadership books because I don't have any partners. And that's a good thing and a not so good thing. And I need motivation. I was sharing a little bit earlier in a conversation of, I have a company to support my advertising habit. I'm so passionate about the power of advertising. Did I want to be a business owner? No, not really. The owner, Michael David Brown, MDB, came to me after working for him for 6 years, and I was telling him about how I was helping him run 3 companies, and I wasn't doing a very good job. And he said, well, why don't you buy MDB? And I said, well, you know, there's an idea. So I did. Why I thought I could do that, I have no idea. But I did. So back to the drudgery that you talk about. In my case, I didn't know a thing about cash flow. I'd never seen a balance sheet. I didn't know about payroll taxes. Okay, I didn't know much about business. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do to end up doing what you love. And I don't know too many people, short of maybe Michelle, who just does what she loves and doesn't have anything dragging you down. not a thing. But that can just have this singular life where every day is a joy. It's not, but it is worth it. I love seeing our brands run. I love the success we bring our clients. And guess what? I love being independent and not having a holding company own us, because we don't have to work for anybody we don't want to. We can select our clients. We have no debt. It's a pretty good life. But it's not all about the money, because we take brands. We always say internally we have kind of three reasons why we take clients. And you got to have 2 out of the 3. Good people, good work, and budgets to support their objectives. You notice you only have to have 2 out of 3. It's not all about the money. We take in causes that have nothing. We try not to take too many of those, but we do. Can't afford to take too many of those. But good people, they understand and value the contribution of advertising and marketing professionals, a good brand that can elevate ours for a good cause, and sometimes we make money. Every account doesn't have to make money, but that's the beauty of being independent.
Additional questions? One more. Okay. People sitting in the front got it this time.
Hi, well, it's loud. Hi, I'm Talia. I'm a senior communication major. You spoke about how you were the first person at your company to get a Twitter handle. I guess, what was it like kind of putting the technology and diffusing it throughout, like all the positions in the company, not at the beginning level and all the way up through?
That's where it's good to be queen. That's another thou shalt. Hey, everybody, we're getting on Twitter. We're going to have a meeting in a week. I want a presentation on the value of Twitter and what it can mean to our clients. I want to understand that everybody has a Twitter handle. We need to, that's where it's good to be the boss. But the other thing is you have to recognize and reward people, Snapchat and Vines and things like that. I mean, as social media has really become such frankly, a large part of a lot of the campaigns that we're participating in beyond television and radio and some of the more traditional stuff. Rewarding, I'll give you an example. We just had 4 of our interns came up with a campaign for Mad Men that's MDB. In fact, it hasn't even launched yet, so don't go there. Hashtag MDB goes mad. I was fortunate in 2008, actually, in the Washington Post, did a major article on the mad men and women of Washington, D.C., and they're reviving that for this finale series. And the interns are doing a program to carry that out, but it'll be on every social media platform. But, you've got to, 2 things I would say. You've got to dictate it, you've got to recognize it, but moreover, you have to walk the walk. You have to do it yourself. Can't delegate everything. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Cary. Well, thanks to everyone for the conversation. So Cary is sitting at the Marketing and Sales Roundtable, and she'll be also available in the networking area at the end of the event. So if you have additional questions for her, I encourage you to find her during the roundtable discussions and the reception. So before we move on with the program, I'd like to ask, Cary sat down. Well, Erica, you can take it to Cary. To choose the door prize winner. Now this person should be here, right? This prize is for a Kindle Fire. Erica will bring the bowl on the stage. And Cary, okay, we were gonna come to you, but that's fine. Okay. Oh, we got a number this time. You can read it.
Okay. 026535. Any
Get your
takers?
tickets. Say it again.
026535. We got a winner. All right. Is that just the one? Yeah. And here's the number. Thank you. Erica?
Great. So now we're going to begin the roundtable sessions. And in 15 minutes, you're going to hear the chime. Okay, we got it this time. So begin the sessions, 15 minutes, and then we'll move around again. Thank you.